Greetings, everybody. Good morning. Good morning to you all. Thank you all for joining. Good morning. Good morning. Thank everybody for joining. And should have got some water. Man. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining. How you doing this morning? How you doing this morning? Thank you all for logging in really quick. I'm not going to be on that long. I had a thought as I was getting ready to leave out of the house to run to the store. Shalom to you, Terrence and Jamila. Hey, good morning. Shalom to everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. Everybody jumping on this morning. Shalom, Riddick, Sister Tina Bailey, Okote Bailey. All the brothers and sisters that are tuning in, thank you all for joining on this morning. I had a thought and just been seeing some things in the news and different things like that. But just I was getting ready to go to the store, and I wasn't going to do a live today or anything like that. And then the Most High began to kind of deal with me on some things, and so I decided to tune in and come on because I wanted to speak to you about some things. And oftentimes, especially in this day and age, that the wisdom that the Father is speaking is always regards to his people and getting an understanding in these last days in which we live. And so just looking at some things and how I approach and things like that. Hey, Shalom, what's going on, Elder Mark James? And just looking at some things. Hey, Sister Nicole Lewis, thank you for tuning in. Sister Tanya Bates Rogers, thanks for tuning in. Everyone, Sister Keish, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of y'all and all of your time. I'm not going to be before you long. And the title of this is Demonstration Gets You Killed. Okay. I'm not talking about a protest down at the White House or a protest at the Congress. I'm not talking about a protest standing outside of a church or outside of a mosque or outside of a building or anything of that nature. In the Bible, the demonstration in which was used was a demonstration that men could not do without some form of help supernaturally, in which comes from the Most High. Especially when we begin to look at the New Testament, we begin to see when Christ came on the scene, there was such a level of demonstration that superseded anyone before him, including even John the Baptist, including even all of the prophets and everyone, including even Moses per se. And then after he had chosen his disciples, there was a level of demonstration that took place before they encountered or before they received the Holy Spirit. Many of them were functioning on sheer faith. And so the demonstration that gets you killed isn't just a common carnal protest of we need justice because of something that actually happened. There's no form of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King demonstration that could bring forth a level of change in which a demonstration of someone who life is being changed, in which the system in which this world that Hasatan partners with and has a stronghold on the people. It's nothing more than a greater demonstration that a man who's sitting at a pool, who's waiting for someone to help him in the water, and yet and still there is no one there to help him to enter into the water because everyone else is being selfish. But there shows up a man who being not selfish, and decide to say, hey, listen, don't worry about someone helping you get in the water. Don't worry about even actually touching the water. I just know that I'm here because I love you so much, and to the point where I want to liberate you. And now no doctor or anyone who has diagnosed you, or even from birth, to say that you cannot walk. Now that no one will be able to get the glory for that we're talking about such a great demonstration, to the point to where now that everyone knew that this man could not walk, but now yet he walks. There's not a greater demonstration of someone who has died, and yet all of a sudden you find that there's a man who comes on the scene and who has a group of people who he's showing them how to be able to walk this thing out, to call him forth when he once was dead. Now he begins to put the funeral home out of business. And yet these people knew that this man who once died, and the doctor pronounced him dead, but yet now he still lives. There's not a greater demonstration than a woman who has an issue with blood, and a woman who doctor has deemed her uncurable, and yet she has all of these situations, and yet all of a sudden she touched the hem of his garment, and all of a sudden she's healed. There's no greater demonstration than that. There's no greater demonstration that when you see constantly that people who could not eat or feed themselves, and yet all of a sudden a man who comes on the scene, and yet he finds himself and he takes his disciples and teaches them to be selfless, and turn around and say, we're going to feed 5,000 men, not including the women and children. There's not a greater demonstration than that. We're talking about demonstration that people's lives are changed. We're talking about demonstration where a man whose son, all right, is possessed with a demon, and yet and still no one can do anything about it. And all of a sudden the man speaks simple words as come out, and all of a sudden this child is freed when everyone knew that this child was possessed. There's no greater demonstration than that. Demonstration gets you killed. Demonstration gets you killed. Not what you say out of your mouth, not the information that you teach. Demonstration in liberating people through demonstration gets you killed. The question is, I don't think very many people understand this. I don't think very many people understand how difficult or the task it is to follow HaMashiach and all of a sudden become a change agent in people's lives, to the point to where you become a threat to the society that don't want to have nothing to do with your Messiah. You become a threat to the society of those who say that they follow the Messiah, but yet are selfish in their own right. You cannot be selfish following HaMashiach, and you have to be a willing vessel to be a demonstration. The result of these two is death. The result of these two is death. Every disciple outside of John lost his life. Why? Simply because of a demonstration. Many people who once followed, and yet they turned their back and left. Even Paul said, if they were ever with us, they would have never left. They weren't with us. Because the harsh reality is that the more you demonstrate, the more your life becomes a death sentence. The more demonstration you do to be a change agent in people's lives, the more you become on the hit list. I don't think many of you understand that. It has not even entered into your heart. And if it has not entered into your heart, then how can you be used as a tool for change? You have to be a willing vessel. And not only that, you have to accept the consequences that come with it. The question is, because demonstration gets you killed, are you willing to lay down your life? Are you willing to lay down your life? That's a part of the deal. The line is drawn when it comes to that. There were many people who talked and said they followed him. But when the rubber met the road, they denied him. Peter was a prime example. He denied him in the moment, but yet his strength was built up. And then as he grew, he understood the consequences and he embraced it. In our day and age, we don't have such. Very few and small in between. Very few people are willing to go. Them brothers was like Navy SEALs. Everyone in the early congregations and the early assemblies was like Navy SEALs. They were willing to go when no one else would want to go. They were willing to face the consequences of being outnumbered because they were resolved in who they were, knowing that they were the majority. And yet they all lost their lives. And when they signed up for the job, they knew the consequences. But they were willing to accept them. We don't talk about that. We talk around that. Before the persecution, before the death sentence, before you are placed in the lethal injection seat, before you are placed in the chair, before you're electrocuted, before you are placed on your knees to have your head chopped off, you know, before you take your last breath, that there was a buildup. There was a buildup. The buildup came in the form of slander. The buildup comes in the form of rumors. The buildup comes in the form of gossip. The buildup comes in the form of people bearing false witness against you. The buildup comes when people start physically putting their hands on you. All of these are buildups to the point where you have an opportunity to quit. And many fail. And many quit because somebody is talking about them. Many quit because someone bears false witness against them. Many quit because someone actually physically put their hands on them. And many ultimately quit. And they turn their back on HaMashiach when they're faced with a death sentence. And many of you will quit even before someone even bears false witness against you, because you can't even handle the pressures of life. We're not talking about you for doing a demonstration and people are calling you a false witness or false prophet or blaspheming. No, we're talking about people who actually fall off simply because they lost their job. You aren't cut out for this. It's been smoothed over. It's been sugar-coated over. We talk about everything than those brothers who died, than those people who died in the Inquisition, than those people who died in the first century, than those people who got fed to lions. Demonstration gets you killed. And all we know about is demonstration about Black Lives Matter. All we know about demonstration are just regular protests with people holding up signs. When the last time have you changed somebody? When the last time has someone actually changed being around you? When was the last time the Father used you to bring a miracle into someone else's life? Or do you just love being on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, going to conferences? When the last time you was a demonstration? We're not talking about just feeding people. Atheists feed people. Feeding somebody ain't gonna get you killed. When was the last time someone who did not believe you was a demonstration in their life, now they believe? We're not talking about a convert. I mean, we're not talking about someone, a commuter. We're not talking about a commuter. Many of the people that you witness to are just church commuters. Many of the people that you talk to that has changed or seeming to change, they already had some form of foundation biblically. When was the last time an atheist, when you start changing atheists, you're on your way to a death sentence. The man in the wheelchair who's been from his birth or who's been in an accident, when was the last time have he gotten up out the chair? When was the last time? See, this type of power or demonstration takes something that many of us aren't willing to do. And that's sacrifice. You can't even fast an hour. You're not even committed to getting off of Facebook. You're not even committed to push back from everything. The Muslim is. He don't care what's going on the job. He gonna pray. Not you. You can't get that type of perk. It gets you killed. Demonstration, the Father's power in you, it gets you killed. And this is something that nobody wants to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about all this good stuff. I know this feel. Oh yeah, somebody, you know this, you know that. I know this history and I know this person. Forget all of that. Hamashiach changed the lives of people and he died. And he resurrected. Peter died. I mean, do I need to run down the list of apostles that died? Do I got to run down the list of all the people that they discipled that died? We're talking about people who was a demonstration in changing the lives of atheists and kings and all these other people. Demonstration, you just want to hold up a sign. You're satisfied by handing out a bag with a sandwich in it. A bag with some soap products. You're just satisfied with talking to someone about history. I need more than that. I'm seeking God for more than that. I need to be a walking demonstration. I don't need a sign. I don't need a crowd. I need the Father to elevate me to bring more glory to his name. I don't need to be famous. I don't need folks patting me on the back. I don't need people following. But I need more of him. And the people need more than just what we giving them now. As darkness turn up, we got to turn up. That means our prayer life has to go to another level. I've been telling y'all this for 2 years. People think it's a joke. People think it's a joke. That's why it seems as though the world is crumbling around you. We aren't doing what our forefathers did. They didn't allow anything to be more important than being a demonstration in people's lives. When he sent them out 2 by 2, what did he say? What did he tell them to go do? Heal the sick, raise the dead. I send you out 2 by 2. You going out talking and teaching everything else but what he told you to do. That's why we ain't changing nothing. That's why we're going into a deeper rut of wickedness. Because everybody want to do what they want to do and talk about what they want to talk about. That's the problem. That's the issue. Because y'all scared to die. That's the problem. I see brothers talking about, brother, you going over to that country? Brother, you going to this place? Brother, you going to that place? That was not something that even an apostle or a disciple would have ever said out of their mouth. In fear. You signed up for the task. You signed up for the job. You know the consequences. Demonstration gets you killed. It gets you killed. Brothers scared to go downtown in their own city. You scared to go in the drug-infested neighborhood because you scared to die. You scared to go into some of the bad and the worst territory out of your comfort zone. Well, brother, if you are afraid to go anywhere, then you do not have in you what you proclaim you have. You don't have it in you. The Father's doing a separating process. Folks, keep all of you run your mouth all you want. Let's look at this. Acts chapter number 6. And I'm going to read a couple verses to you. And I'm going to be out of your way. I want you to ponder on this. Because ain't nobody going to tell you this. Folks just care about themselves and care about movements. I don't care about no movement. I care about the kingdom of God. That's it. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. We got to change our way of thinking. But in order to do that, you got to change your spirit man from the inside out. You can't be scared and be no disciple of HaMashiach. Fear is not an option in the kingdom of the Most High. Fear is not an option in his kingdom. He don't need no punks in his kingdom. He don't need nobody soft in his kingdom. He don't need that. He tired of that. Because Christ was gangster. Christ wasn't soft. And none of them disciples that lost their lives was soft. Paul wasn't soft either. If they were soft when they got their behind kicked and thrown in jail, they wouldn't have went right back on the corner again the next 5 minutes. Y'all won't even go on the corner to be thrown in jail. Y'all won't even go on the corner to be beat for the gospel's sake. Miss me with that madness, man. Look at what it says. Acts chapter number 6, verse number 6. Whom they set before the apostles, and when they had prayed, yeah, the apostles prayed. That's another requirement. Prayer is going to be the key to be used as a demonstration. If you ain't praying, you ain't changing nothing. If prayer is not a part, it's one of the most powerful weapons that we have as believers in our arsenal that we use the least. We'll get together and study, but we don't want to pray. We'll get together and study, but we don't want to pray. Whom they set before the apostles, and when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. All right. Verse number 7. And the word of Yah increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly. We ain't talking about multiply 5 people here. No, they multiplied greatly. Thousands of people. Because the prayer is what led to the demonstration. Let's keep reading. Look what it says. And when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. Verse 7. And the word of God increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly. And a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. You started changing priests? You have to understand something. One of the main keys to the people are the leaders. If you can't change the leaders, because people follow leaders. Leaders have a certain mindset. So it takes a certain mindset and a certain power to get them to change or listen or receive, because many leaders already think they've arrived. So it takes a certain level of prayer and fasting that the Father could penetrate, all right, the wall that many leaders have up already, whether it be through tradition or whether it be through anything else that they've already, through school. Many of the priests, they went to school as well. That's how they learned the Torah. Everybody couldn't just be a part of being in this school of Pharisees and priests. Many of them were educated in a different way. So they already have a mindset. But the Spirit of the Most High is who changed. The Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, is what changed people. But it ain't changing nobody if you ain't changed. Look what it says in verse number 7. They were obedient to the faith. Verse number 8. And Stephen, full of faith. Listen, what he was full of faith. He didn't guess. He didn't have no partiality or maybe this or maybe that. Or no, he was full of faith in HaMashiach. Full of faith. You got to be full of faith to be a demonstration. You can't be tiptoeing in and out. 1 minute you believe, the next minute you don't believe. You got to be full of faith in this walk. Look what he says. Stephen, full of faith and power. He had power. He wasn't walking around here playing a guessing game. He was full of faith and he had power. Where's your power, man? I hear everybody talking, but I don't see no power. Where's the power, man? When the last time somebody changed around you? Everybody talking. Everybody saying that they got this and they got that. Where's your demonstration? I see more people running from you than running to you. Where's your power, man? That's the question. These brothers was full of faith and they had power. What else they got? What else Stephen had? Did great wonders. This what got him killed. What I'm reading to you is what got him killed. He wasn't just running around here talking. He was demonstrating what he had. And it got him killed. He knew the consequences when he signed up. Once you accept the job, you accept the requirements, then you're given a level of power. Then you're given a level of power to demonstrate. It's no different than on a job. On a job that you work on, you accept you become manager, supervisor, you accept the job, you accept the responsibilities and the consequences, and then they give you a level of power to enforce. It's no different. Verse number 8. He was full of faith, power, great wonders, and miracles, not amongst himself, among the people. Because when you start doing demonstrations and people start changing, people gonna get to talking. And then you become a threat to those who ain't changing nobody. Because oftentimes, the people who doing all the talking, who ain't changing nobody, they ain't got no power, they not full of faith, and they doggone show ain't showing no miracles and no signs. They just got the people hanging on to their words. But when somebody come along who not just talking, but who's showing demonstration, power, signs and wonders, you become a threat to every society. You become a threat to everybody's system because they can't figure out where you get your power from. They can't figure out where you get your authority from. They can't figure out why people are changing. And instead of them trying to find out, their carnality partners up with Satan and they begin to say things against you. Then those sayings become physical against you. And then after the physicality, then they're plotting on your demise. And even though you know this, you still have to be obedient to what the Father said until your time is up. Every man has a death sentence. Every man has a death date. But if I'm going to die, I'm going to die doing what the Father told me to do. I'm not going to die because I was scared. Whether you're going to die when it comes to time. Time going to outlive you. But I'd rather die doing what I was told than to die doing what man tell me. This is what got Stephen killed. This is what got the apostles killed. This is what got Paul killed. This is what got believers after them killed. And this is what's going to get you killed today. Point blank period. The Father's about to do some crazy stuff. And your own brother's going to kill you for it. There's nothing new under the sun. It wasn't so much that the Gentiles wanted him to die. It was because they partnered with his own brothers. No different than anybody else in the scriptures. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. Look what it says here in verse number 9. Then there are certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of Libertine and Cyrenians and Alexandrians and of them of Sicilia and of Asia disputing with Stephen. His own brothers disputing with him. You don't see no Romans here. You don't see no Greeks here. His own brothers are the one contending with him because they can't understand where he getting his power from. They can't understand where the teachings and all these things come from because there should be a demonstration with the teaching. The Pharisees could teach, but they ain't had no demonstration. That's because they weren't full of faith. They didn't have no power. And so you have no power and no faith. There could be no miracles and no signs. They were disputing with Stephen, verse 10, and they were not able to resist the wisdom. You can't come against his wisdom because the person who's using him is more wiser than you. You got to be out your mind. This brother ain't dealing with no fleshly wisdom. He ain't teaching of himself. But only a carnal man thinks that. You think you're going to contend with Stephen, a man full of faith with power, signs, and wonders? And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. He ain't speaking of his own. See, you can tell when people speaking of their own. You can tell. And I sit back and I'm watching. It's a whole lot of people speaking things of their own. They're driven by it. See, when everybody want to be right, they speaking of their own. When you see people not teaching about Christ, they ain't teaching salvation, they speaking of their own. They're not full of faith. They don't have no power. They don't have no demonstration. They speaking of everything but you got to go through Christ. Everything else is a much more priority to talk about than Hamashiach. That's how you know they're speaking of themselves. Look at what it says. Verse 11. Then they suborned men. They gathered men, which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against Yah. It's the same thing they did to Hamashiach. Same thing they did to Christ. This is the same thing they did to Paul. This is the same thing they did to Peter. Your own brothers. It's the same thing. It don't change. You don't see the Romans saying that. You don't see the Greeks saying that. You don't see Esau saying that. Where are all these folks at? If they so against you, where are they? Why they ain't coming against Stephen? Why is his own brothers doing it? You think your enemy is just someone not of your own nation. You ain't read the book. You ain't read the book. You ain't read the book. Look at what it says. Verse 12. And they stirred up the people. See, the leaders always stir up the people. The ringleaders who speaking against you, they always going to try to gather people with them. Because they ain't going to come at you yourself. Because they can't resist your wisdom. They can't resist the spirit and the faith and the power that you have. They can't come against that. So what they have to do, they got to get a crowd to do it. They got to go get leaders to do it. Ain't nothing new under the sun. It's the same thing. You ain't reading the book. Can't nobody deal with the Most High's wisdom. You fighting the Most High. You ain't fighting. They ain't fighting Stephen. They fighting the Most High because he the one using them. Stephen just a body being used. When you think that you fighting against a person, you sadly mistaken. You fighting against the Most High, who's using a body. Look what he says. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council. His demonstration. It went from talking. At first the people, they started putting out he was blaspheming. His demonstration started the talks against him. The next thing you know, his demonstration, when they couldn't contend with him, his demonstration went from talking that they were using the talk tactics to now they put their hands on him. They put their hands on him. Then after they put their hands on him, now they got to put up dummy trial on him, a false trial to put him to death. Let's keep reading. Look what it says. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him unto the council and set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceases not to speak blasphemous words against the holy place and the law. They doing the same thing they did to everybody else, his own brothers. For we have heard him say that this Jesus, a Yahushua of Nazareth, shall destroy this place and shall change the customs which Moses delivered unto us. And all that sat in the council looking steadfastly on him saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. They saw he was innocent. And yet they put up dummy charges on him. Because why? Because his power, because his faith and his miracles and demonstration caused a change on the people that they could not handle. And so the only thing that they could do was try to get rid of him. Demonstration gets you killed, beloved. Shalom.